Hey everybody, welcome back. Jumping into AI, it can be so exciting, but picking the right way to implement it, uh, it can kind of feel like staring into a toolbox
Right.
full of tools, but you don't know which one to grab.
Yeah.
It's that classic debate,
Yeah.
waterfall versus agile.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like asking, is a hammer better than a screwdriver?
I like that.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do.
Right.
You sent over a video tackling this head on,
Yes.
and it uses a really clever analogy.
Yeah.
Nails and screws.
I love it.
Ready to unpack this together.
Absolutely. It's a great way to visualize these approaches.
Okay.
You know how they've evolved.
Yeah.
Think back to, ancient construction.
Okay.
For centuries, nails were the go-to,
Mm-hmm.
reliable, sturdy, that they got the job done.
Yeah.
Much like the waterfall method has dominated project management for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Waterfall works beautifully for projects with clear sequential steps.
Yeah.
Predictable outcomes, like building a house from a detailed blueprint.
All right. Everything's meticulously planned out, each step defined.
Yes.
So you have a pretty good idea of how that project will unfold.
Uh-huh.
But then came along the screw, a total game changer.
Yeah.
Requiring a new way of thinking and new tools.
Absolutely.
And that's where Agile comes in.
Exactly like the screw. Agile is a more recent approach, offering a fresh way to manage work.
Okay.
However, it requires a shift away from that rigid structure of waterfall.
Okay.
And this is where many organizations stumble.
Really?
They try to implement agile practices like Scrum or Kanban without changing their underlying mindset.
So it's like trying to hammer in a screw.
Exactly.
They're using the wrong tool for the job.
Yes.
And it just leads to frustration.
Precisely. It's not that agile doesn't work, it's that it's being misapplied.
Okay.
You can't force agile practices into a waterfall framework and expect it to be effective.
Right.
The key is understanding which tool is best suited for the task at hand.
So instead of declaring one approach superior.
It's about recognizing their strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. Waterfall excels when the work is simple or complicated.
Okay.
Clear steps, predictable outcomes.
Gotcha.
Think of those routine tasks you can practically do on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
but Agile truly shines when things get complex,
Okay.
with a high degree of uncertainty and evolving requirements.
Okay.
Think of developing a brand new product where you're navigating uncharted territory.
And that's where AI implementation fits in, right?
Absolutely.
It's like venturing into the unknown.
Yes.
The video makes a compelling case for agile in the realm of AI.
Absolutely, because AI work is inherently unpredictable and complex,
Okay.
constantly evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to impose a rigid waterfall structure on it would just stifle progress.
Yeah.
Agile, on the other hand, embraces change
Okay.
and encourages continuous adaptation essential for navigating the dynamic world of AI.
So for our listeners embarking on their AI journey,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing to remember? I think they need to think carefully about the nature of the AI work they are undertaking.
Okay.
Is it predictable or complex?
Okay.
Will the requirements change over time, or are they fixed?
Gotcha.
The answers will guide you towards the most suitable approach.
It's all about matching the tool to the job.
Right. Yeah.
Choosing Agile doesn't just mean picking a few trendy practices.
Right.
The video emphasizes the importance of the Agile culture,
Yes.
the values, principles, and mindset that underpin it.
That's key.
Mm-hmm.
Companies that have truly embraced agile culture are better equipped to handle the complexities of AI.
Okay.
They've developed the ability to adapt and learn as they go,
Mhm.
to see change as an opportunity, not a threat.
Yeah.
This is especially important in AI, where new discoveries and advancements are happening all the time.
So are we saying waterfall is obsolete?
Not at all. It still has its place.
Okay.
If you're dealing with predictable routine projects where the requirements are unlikely to change,
Mm-hmm.
waterfall can be very efficient. But for something as innovative and complex as AI Agile provides the space for experimentation and discovery.
It allows you to test your assumptions, gather feedback, and adapt along the way.
Exactly.
That iterative process is so much better suited for AI work.
Yes.
This reminds me of something the video mentioned
Yeah.
about hammering screws.
Right.
The idea that many organizations try to implement Agile practices without truly embracing the underlying Agile mindset.
It's a common pitfall.
Yeah.
They might adopt Scrum or Kanban,
Okay.
but they haven't shifted their thinking.
Right.
They're trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
And that leads to frustration and the misconception that Agile doesn't work.
It's like learning a new dance but refusing to change your old stiff shoes.
Exactly.
So how can our listeners determine the right approach for their AI work?
I think they need to really examine the characteristics of their work.
Okay.
What are the goals?
Yeah.
How much uncertainty is involved?
Okay.
How comfortable is their team with ambiguity and change?
This is where things get really interesting.
Right.
We're talking about much more than just tricking a project management framework.
Yes.
We're talking about changing the way people think and work together.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty big deal.
It is, and it requires a commitment to continuous learning and improvement. Organizations need to be willing to experiment, to fail fast, and to learn from their mistakes.
Okay.
That's the essence of Agile.
It sounds like this deep dive is taking us beyond just comparing Waterfall and Agile.
Yes.
It's about understanding the fundamental shifts happening in the way we work in this age of AI.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
This isn't just about AI, it's about adaptability and resilience in the face of constant change. It's about embracing a mindset that allows you to thrive in a world that's increasingly complex and unpredictable.
So for our listeners, it sounds like the first step is to take a good, hard look at the work they're doing
Yes.
and ask themselves, what's the best tool for this job?
And remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. You might find that some aspects of your AI work are better suited for waterfall, while others require a more agile approach.
It's about being flexible and adaptable, just like AI itself.
Exactly. And building your AI toolbox with the right mix of waterfall and agile practices.
Right.
And most importantly, the right culture is key to success.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From ancient construction techniques to the cutting edge of AI implementation.
Yes.
It's clear that choosing the right approach is crucial,
Uh-huh.
but it's also clear that this goes way deeper than just picking a methodology.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the underlying principles and values that drive success in different contexts. It's about fostering a culture of adaptability and continuous learning.
Yeah.
And it's about empowering teams to embrace change and to thrive in the face of uncertainty.
If Agile is so well suited for the dynamic world of AI,
Yes.
what other areas of your work might benefit from a more flexible and adaptable approach?
It's something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because in a world that's constantly changing, maybe we could all benefit from being a little more agile. It really is. We often talk about agile tools
Right.
like Scrum and Kanban, but sometimes we forget about the foundation they are built upon.
You mean the Agile values, principles, and processes?
Exactly. These elements emphasize things
Yeah.
like individuals and interactions
Oh.
over processes and tools, responding to change over following a plan.
Okay.
And customer collaboration over contract negotiation.
Gotcha.
They essentially provide a framework
Okay.
for approaching work in a way that embraces uncertainty and change.
That makes sense. So it's not just about using the right tool.
Yeah.
It's about having the right mindset.
Precisely. It's about fostering a culture
Okay.
where teams are empowered to make decisions,
Uh-huh.
experiment, and adapt as needed.
Okay.
It's about creating an environment
Right.
where learning and continuous improvement are valued.
It sounds like we're moving beyond just project management here.
Yes.
We're talking about a whole new way of thinking and working.
You're absolutely right. And that can be a challenge for many organizations.
Yeah.
They're used to operating in a world where everything is planned and controlled.
Right.
The idea of embracing uncertainty can be scary.
Especially for those used to Waterfall,
Right.
where you meticulously map out every step of a project from the beginning. It's like drawing a straight line from point A to point B.
Yes.
But with AI, it seems like that line is more like a winding path
Yeah.
with unexpected twists and turns.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why Agile is so well suited for AI work. It allows you to embrace those twists and turns.
Right.
To adapt your approach as you learn more.
So instead of resisting change, you're welcoming it.
Exactly. And that's a powerful shift.
Yeah.
It's about moving from a mindset of fear and control
Okay.
to a mindset of curiosity and empowerment.
It sounds like we're not just talking about tools and techniques here.
No.
We're talking about a fundamental shift in perspective.
We are, and that shift can be challenging,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly liberating.
Okay.
It allows teams to be more creative, more innovative, and ultimately more successful.
So for our listeners who are maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway?
I would say don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to fail. The beauty of Agile is that it allows you to learn and adapt as you go.
Right.
And that's essential in the world of AI, where the only constant is change.
That's a great point. So much of AI is about exploration and discovery.
Yes.
You don't always know what you're going to find until you start digging. And that requires a willingness to be wrong,
Uh-huh.
to adjust your course, and to keep learning.
Exactly. It's about embracing a growth mindset.
Okay.
And that's something that can benefit any team,
Yeah.
regardless of whether they're working on AI or something else entirely.
So maybe the real lesson here isn't just about choosing between Waterfall and Agile,
Yeah.
but about understanding the principles that make each approach effective in different contexts.
And recognizing that there is no one right way to do things.
Yeah.
It's about finding the approach that best fits the work at hand
Right.
and the culture of the team.
Well said. This conversation has really helped me understand the deeper implications
Okay.
of this whole waterfall versus agile debate.
Yeah?
It's not just a theoretical discussion.
No.
It's about how we approach work, how we embrace change,
Mhm.
and how we learn and grow as individuals and teams.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that our listeners can take away from this deep dive as well.
Yeah.
It's not just about choosing the right project management framework.
Right.
It's about cultivating the right mindset and the right culture for success in a world that's constantly evolving.
So we've talked a lot about the theoretical side of things.
We have.
But I'm curious, have you seen any real-world examples of companies successfully implementing Agile for AI projects?
Oh, absolutely. There are some really inspiring examples out there.
Oh, wow.
I've seen companies use Agile to develop cutting-edge AI solutions in healthcare,
Wow.
finance, and even agriculture.
That's amazing.
They've been able to leverage the flexibility and adaptability of Agile to rapidly prototype,
Yeah.
test, and iterate their way to success.
That's really encouraging to hear. It's one thing to talk about these concepts in theory,
Yes.
but it's another thing entirely to see them put into practice and making a real difference in the world.
It is, and those successes often stem from a deep commitment to Agile values and principles.
Okay.
Not just ticking off boxes on a Scrum board.
Right.
It's about embracing a new way of thinking and working together.
So for our listeners who might be skeptical, who might be thinking, this all sounds great, but can it really work in my organization?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would say don't underestimate the power of culture. And don't be afraid to start small.
Right.
You don't have to transform your entire organization overnight.
Yeah.
Start by experimenting with Agile in a specific team or project.
Gotcha.
See what works, what doesn't, and learn from your experiences.
That's great advice. It reminds me of that old saying,
What's that?
a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Oh, I like that.
You don't have to do everything at once.
Right.
Just take that first step and then another and another.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about achieving perfection.
Right.
It's about continuous improvement.
Well said. It sounds like the key takeaway here is that choosing the right approach for AI implementation
Yeah.
isn't just about picking a methodology.
No.
It's about understanding the underlying principles of Waterfall and Agile
Uh-huh.
and then finding the best fit for your specific context,
Yes.
your team, and your culture.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, it's about being willing to learn, adapt, and grow along the way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are some final thoughts you would like to leave our listeners with?
I would encourage them to stay curious, to embrace change, and to never stop learning. The world of AI is constantly evolving, and the only way to stay ahead of the curve is to be willing to adapt and evolve with it.
That's a great message. It's not about finding the perfect solution. It's about embarking on a journey of continuous learning and improvement. And who knows, maybe that journey will take you to some truly amazing places.
I think it will.
And for those listeners who are eager to keep exploring this topic, we've included a link to the full video in the show description. Be sure to check it out for even more insights and inspiration.
It's definitely worth a watch.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of Waterfall versus Agile for AI implementation. We hope you found this conversation as engaging and insightful as we did.
It was a pleasure diving into this topic with you.
And until next time, keep those brains buzzing and happy exploring. Don't forget to check out that link to the full video in the show description.